welcome to the Garo Cigars podcast. I'm your host, Harout Bouldoukian, and today I get to do something real special. Sit down with my dad, Dr. Garo Bouldoukian, the founder of Garo Cigars. We're going to talk about family, legacy, cigars, and the journey that brought us here. And this podcast is meant to highlight how we started, where we are, and where we're going. So, Dad, I know a lot of people know you as the founder of Garo Cigars.
Yeah.
But, let's rewind a little bit. What was life like growing up? Where were you born? And what was your childhood like?
Well, I was born in Beirut, Lebanon, more specifically Bush Hammoud, which is a suburb of Beirut, to an Armenian family that we lived in one building with three families. We owned the building. My aunt used to live downstairs and we lived upstairs. So we kind of too many people in one building, two-story building. So my childhood I was kind of very, very, they told me that I used to have an ADHD, unrest. I used to create problem with everyone.
How many people were in the house?
We were 5 siblings, 2, 7, my uncle with his wife, 2, and my aunt with his husband and 4 siblings. So total, imagine. Like it
Wow.
was a one-story house and, we had to eat together, we had to kind of rub to each other when we walked because everybody was going around. But me, I was the one always finding a way to be the joker of the family. I used to joke and never anybody thought that I will mount to something because my nickname was a joker. So I wasn't a serious guy.
Oh, you weren't taking...
I wasn't taken as serious.
You were the clown of the family?
I was the clown of the family. And, but early from childhood, I liked to read. I used to like to read a lot. Still I read. But I was reading plays when I was a young kid. And one of my French teachers that, taught me to love reading plays. Especially I got in love with Molière. And from my early childhood, 7, 8 years, because the French, they have a different kind of books. They had a bibliothèque vert, which is a green, and they had bibliothèque rose, which is the pink. The pink was the one that it has, let's say, Molière's work was written in a very simplified way. And the same work, you read it with the Bibliothèque Vert, the green one, was more advanced, so more elaboration. Kind of fell in love with Molière at early age, and I understood the essence of Molière's writing because I used to ask questions to my French teacher, and he said, it stuck in my mind, and I use it as my guide in my life all the time. That's why I was always the joker and the clown, because somebody's tragedy is someone else's comedy. So I've literally took to heart that explanation, and that was true. And every time I see any difficulty, I try to find a funny way to melt the ice.
So you went to school. You're talking about going to school in Lebanon. So what languages are you learning? You mentioned French. What languages did you learn?
Armenian and Arabic and French. But when I was 11, 12, I went to a boarding school in Cyprus because that was my only way to go to school. Otherwise, I was going to go to trades. I was put as an apprentice to an electrician, to learn electrician, to become an electrician. But I had one incident that 220-volt wires hit me and threw me away.
You're like,
So I said, I'm not an
I'm
electrician.
going to school instead of being an electrician.
Yeah, so I found the way that, there was a high school in Cyprus, and I went to my godfather and I said, my dad is not going to send me to school because financially we couldn't. So he goes, no, 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 there's no way you're going to school. There, I mentioned to him, I gave him the hint about the school, but, I was conniving at that time because the school wasn't my main goal. My main goal was to get on a plane
Mm.
because the only way you could go is by plane. So I had to get on the plane. So my primary goal was to get on the plane.
You wanted to get out of Burj go somewhere
No,
else?
no, the plane because
Just the plane?
my friends, they used to go travel every summer times, and we couldn't go anywhere except go to the mountains for a couple of months. But my friends, they used to go to Paris, they used to go to other places with plane. So kind of it was in me to get that plane. And that was for me the only way to get into the plane. I hinted him about the high school in Cyprus. He goes, "Oh, that's a good idea." And it turned out that his friend was the organizer. So the next day, I was accepted. So within a week, I went to Cyprus.
Oh, that's awesome. So, growing up in Lebanon, are there any values or lessons that you learned from your parents or from your childhood that have carried on with you since ad- to adulthood? I mean, you kind of mentioned the tragedy and comedy thing through Moliere, but were there any other things that stand out that you learned from your family that you carry on today?
Well, it did because my dad, rest in peace, that he used to say, if you want to get out from any situation, education is the important thing. And kind of, I wanted to learn about life. I wasn't the guy, a book savvy. Like, I didn't want to be a bookish guy. I wanted to learn to implement in my life.
Like learn through experience
Yeah.
rather than learn out of a book.
No, I just don't want to be the A guy, just being focused on reading and memorizing and to have an A. For me, it's to have fun at the same time. But for me, it was leading me. But one thing I learned from my dad, rest in peace, that, the discipline of education. And that was always implemented in my life. I was disciplined because uh, it carried me through life even after high school. After he passed away, even when I was in Paris after high school. Like over there, I didn't know summer times it goes dark at 11, 10:30. But I used to look at the watch, it says 6 o'clock. For me, 6 o'clock is like when the sunset goes. I had to go back to my apartment. Even though I had to go to my apartment, just open the door, get inside, and get out. But that routine was in me because I was always told before the sunset, you have to be home. See, that's how it was influential. And plus, with that education thing, it carried me because I always like to learn. I always love to learn new things. And that's what really kept me alive or kept me going because I will never stop learning.
And some people might not know, but before even cigars came into the picture, you had another profession, or I mean, you're still a practicing chiropractor, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, well, I'm practicing chiropractic, but my story was different when I came to the States. I wanted to go to dental school.
When did you make your way to the States? When did you get here?
Well, I came in 1978.
Okay.
And 1978, when I came, I was going to go to dental school. I did my research. It said all the books that I read about United States, 2 years pre-dental school, then you go to dental school. But when I came here to University of Laverne, full scholarship, where the reality was different, that you had to have a bachelor's degree. Then I realized it's like more politics than anything else, bureaucracy. So you had to have a bachelor's degree to get into dental school. Now, plus I checked the cost. Well, there was no money. So that went out of the window.
You had no money for dental school.
Yeah. And I didn't have residency. I was on a student visa. Then I decided to think about dental technician. 10 months, I was the eldest of the family. I'm thinking of to help my family. So I went to dental technician school, kind of got interested, was inquiring about, what are the things. And they slapped me with $5,000 at that time. I said I didn't have $5 in my pocket.
To be a dental technician?
Yeah, 10 months. 10 months was a course, but I didn't have $5 in my pocket. So that went out of school, out of the window. So what I did is I started working. I was working Bank of America in the afternoons. And one day I decided I can't do this. I came here to go to school. I didn't come here to study. So I was planning to leave Bank of America when my manager helped me out to find an afternoon job so that I would be able to go to school in the mornings, like, continue education. So then one Saturday I was watching TV, Real People, Channel 700. And this chiropractor was arguing with this orthopedic doctor. There was back and forth. I really like what chiropractors said. I never heard about chiropractors before. So I was fortunate enough while going to school by Vermont and Hollywood Freeway, there was a big building says Cleveland Chiropractic College. I said, oh, I stopped there. I said, what kind of degree do you guys give? And they told me, oh, we give a doctor's degree. I said, sign me in. Still, I don't know what I'm getting into. But once I got into, I think that was my calling. And I really did love the profession.
What stood out in chiropractic that, made you fall in love with it?
Well, the natural healing, because when I was a kid, I used to have a intestinal problem and I was sick and tired of feeding me medication. So that gave me the chance to help people with no medication. And then as I went to school, I find out more in depth what chiropractic entices and how it done, the treatment and so forth. And kind of, it was a natural thing for me. So it wasn't, it was coincidental that I saw that program on TV. It was a Saturday afternoon. But for 10 years after practicing chiropractic, I always had in me, because remember in 1976, I was accepted to medical school in Paris. So I had always in me that I should do that for my own sake, for my own sanity, because I can do it. So I found a program that gave chiropractors some credit, and the school was in St. Petersburg, Russia. For 6 months, I was there going back and forth and doing the program in English. Then one of the guys told me they had the same program in Dominican Republic. Because the proximity of Dominican Republic, that kind of attracted me to do that. So I went to Dominican Republic, checked the school, and kind of we came to agreement with the school. They gave me credits for what I've done, and I started the medical school there.
So you were originally going to go to medical school in Paris at one point?
Yeah, 1976.
And then, so why did that not?
Because
being able to pay for medical school again?
No, because I was the oldest one in the family, the eldest. My dad just passed away. My mom wanted me to go back to Lebanon. So it was a family emotional thing.
So you ended up going back home,
Stayed there for a year and a half.
and then went to the States, and that's when the kind of the journey of maybe being a dentist, dental technician, and then you finally land at chiropractic.
Yeah.
And then when did you open your first practice as a chiropractor?
1985. Because I remember 1985, January 11, I received a brown envelope that said, you passed, congratulations.
Oh, great.
So meanwhile, we had a two-bedroom apartment. I was buying equipments for chiropractic office without knowing that, because I'm telling you, I'm always ahead of my time to do things because, I like the challenges. So,
So you were already gearing up to open your own
Yeah.
practice before you even knew you had passed.
yes,
And this is 1985, and you're married at this point. You and mom
Yeah.
got married in 83.
yes.
So two-bedroom apartment, you're gearing up. I mean, you haven't really started a family yet because I don't come until 1986.
Yeah, we started the practice in April, and you were conceived, so that's why you were born in January.
Fantastic.
see?
Fantastic. Yeah, that's great. So you're welcome for all the luck that I brought for you in the chiropractic industry. Um, and then eventually you decided that you wanted to transition from chiropractic and maybe pursue that medical school because that was kind of
Well, it
what the goal was in the beginning.
well, it was an opportunity for me that to prove to myself I could do it,
Got it.
and every time we went at that time, I used to be a cigar smoker, and every time we went there, all my friends they used to challenge me to bet me that I can't find any cigars, even in Finland or St. Petersburg. And they used to bet that they're going to make easy money. How wrong they were.
Hmm.
By the time, like the 10 hours or 12 hours window they gave me for the bet, within a couple of hours, I had the cigars in my hand. And they used to go crazy. How did you do it? I said,
You're always able to seek it out.
yes.
Do you remember the first time you ever had a cigar or the first time you were exposed to cigars?
Well, I was exposed for a young age to smell of the cigar. My godfather, my other cousin, they were 20 years older than me. So I used to go to their house on Sundays. And I used to go to the family houses on Sundays because I knew that, if I kissed their hand, because that was a custom, you kiss the old elderly people's hand, they used to give you money. So kind of that money thing infatuated me to go. But what really infatuated to stay longer, the smell in their house. Because in our house, everybody was smoking cigarettes. Like there wasn't that smell. But that smell of the cigar really kind of attracted me to stay there, made me stay there with them for hours. It wasn't the money now, it was that smell. And then as I grew up and I saw what it is, I kind of related the cigar smoking with success, with wealth and power, or status.
Because not everybody could afford cigars then, right? Or
No,
so, I mean, cigarettes were a commonly smoked thing, but if people had cigars or a box of cigars, not only were they had access to, but they could also afford it, right? Is
Yeah.
that right?
Yes, I mean, remember one of my cousin, was working for the Bank of America. He was the general manager there, then who became later the vice governor of the Central Bank of Lebanon. And the other, my godfather, another cousin that as I told you, 20 years older than me, he was the head of the architectural department of Lebanon. When I graduated, 1977, 76. I had my first cigar in 1977
This is after high school.
after high school. And my cousin gave me one, Romeo Julieta, because I was asking him a question now. And he gave me one. He goes, he showed me how to clip, how to light, because over there, with the way we lighted it at the time, he taught me the cedar that they had in the tube. You light that cedar, then you light the cigars with it. You take a puff, you kind of aerate the cigars. All the thing that, you would do it because it's a ritual lighting a cigar. It's not puffing only. You have to go to the ritual that really kind of attracted me to that because then I wanted to learn about the culture of the cigars.
So, when did the idea of actually creating your own cigar line start?
Uh, I was never into it. Only one time I thought in 1989 to open up a cigar lounge in Studio City. and we had the place. Unfortunately, people that they're going to work with me, they turn out to be uh, unreliable. So
Let's give the PC answer on that.
yeah, unreliable. So I'm glad I didn't do, because took a loan of 250,000. I lost 20,000 of that. That's fine, but it was the lesson that I learned, being unreliable. That was the extent at that time. When I started going to Dominican Republic in the medical school, so we had an arrangement with the hotel, and we stayed in the hotel because every time we went there, it was 2-3 weeks at a time. We came back for a week home, but and this guy comes to me and start bugging me. He has a cigar. Can you sell it in the States? I had no clue that there was a fad coming along. 1980, late 1994, early 1995. And he started coming for 3 months, 4 months. He's bugging me. I said, I can't. I mean, I'm here to go to school. But what really hit me, I kind of befriended some Cuban pilots. I used to get the Cuban cigars in Dominican. The last batch when they gave me, it was those boxes with glasses that they used to make it to as a display. And they weren't good in 1995. So I said, nah, that's it. I should think of something that, find my own way to get cigars to smoke. Uh, but when this guy coming 3-4 months, as I told you, I said, listen, okay, if you teach me the ropes, the factories, how it's done, and so forth. Meanwhile, I was reading. I used to have a lot of books. I read about the tobaccos, the fields, and everything. But actually, I haven't seen. So he goes, can you go tomorrow to the factory with me, to Santiago, from Santo Domingo? So I called Dr. Roy. I said, listen, you're taking all my notes for microbiology tomorrow. I'm not in the class.
I'm going to go to a cigar factory. And
yeah, it was April 1995. So we went there, and with Sergio Cuevas, rest in peace, met him. We talked for hours, and we started the process. And we came up with the blue line. But before, when I was doing the process of blending or learning how to blend, I had people here, a marketing and a designer, that we came up with ideas to kind of put labels together.
so but this doesn't happen all in one trip, right?
No.
I mean, you take that little field trip, you miss microbiology, you take that little field trip to the factory, kind of get introduced to the factory, and then that kind of triggers, well, maybe I can put my own blend together. Is that kind of how it?
That's how it happened, because, I said I would sell your cigars, but you have to teach me. And then, unfortunately, somebody during this, I never thought that I would do it, but somebody told me that you can't do your cigars.
Oh,
Yeah, you can. Somebody
someone
kind of,
said it, you can't do it.
you can't
So
do
that
it.
automatically drove you.
Oh yeah, that things drove me to do it.
That was
But
enough to light the fire.
Oh, yeah.
You of
I mean,
it's impossible. You can't do it. So of course you're gonna.
Fortunately, I landed with people that they were passionate with the cigar, that ignited my passion in me more and more. So embedded in me the passion, and that was the trip. The
Yeah.
first trip in Santiago. It was the beginning of a long journey.
Yeah, I mean, I'll never forget, those early days of you going to the Dominican. Well, I do remember the transition from St. Petersburg to all of a sudden you're going to Dominican Republic. And then you were always a cigar smoker. And then the idea of, oh, dad's going to start a cigar line. And you had people here working on like you were saying, the branding. We call it branding now. I mean,
Yes.
but at the time, without any experience of creating our own line or product of anything. I'll never forget those early days. Our dining room table had just sheets of samples of different brand ideas and labels and colors and designs. All of them had some sort of variation of Garo as the name. I'll never forget that one of the labels had a clown on it, which is kind of funny that your nickname as a kid, or they called you the Joker of the family, and one of the labels had a clown. But I'm kind of glad we didn't use that one. But we landed on Garo Habano. That was the first. Garo Habano Fine Cigars was the first.
Well, it was Garo Habano.
Yeah.
It was the name. The Garo Fine Cigars was the company's name, but the label, which was a die cut of the fleur de lis, with the Garo in the middle with the Habano as a underneath.
And then the first blend that you create is the Garo Blue line.
Yes.
And this is now 1995.
Yes.
And you were mentioning you didn't really know there was a cigar boom happening. You just kind of on it at the same time.
I had no idea when I was doing it. I started calling people. At that time, my wife, your mom, wasn't working, so she helped me out with. We started from the house, so one of the guest room we turned it into a humidor, and she used to like every time that I was coming back from the medical school, she had me lined up to go visit from LA to south, from LA to north with cigar stores. And at that time, because there was a boom and they weren't getting enough, we were having, your mom used to ship from the house boxes of boxes. UPS used to come and pick it up.
Well, I'll never forget that UPS sign that used to be out
on the garage.
in the garage door. UPS knows to.
And at that time, everything was handwritten.
Yeah, yeah. And she was on a landline.
Yep,
calling
polls and so forth. We did very good, but you know what it is? We didn't know. At the first thing that they said that they had a show in Cincinnati that year, I was too late to go because I didn't know. So the next year we found out there's a organization called RTDA, and I had to sign up with them and get a booth, and we went to. The first year was in Florida.
The RTDA is basically the tobacco trade show.
Yeah.
At the time was cigars, pipe tobacco.
Yeah.
And they didn't sell cigarettes there, but it was...
No, there was no cigarettes.
Tobacco, like pipe tobacco and
pipe tobacco, pipe.
Yeah. But before we talk about that early show, you said something interesting of, there's this boom happening that you don't necessarily know about. I mean, you're just a cigar consumer at the time. And now you're kind of creating your own blend and branding it. And with the boom, a lot of the big companies that had already established themselves, the big names, they couldn't keep up with the demand of consumers, right?
Yeah.
You, with your boutique brand, were able to kind of fill the need, and with your direct attention to the retailers and mom kind of setting up events and things like that back to back, you having a lot of FaceTime with the store owners, I mean, that kind of contributed to those early days of establishing your brand. Is that right?
Oh, yes, that's definitely. But the sad part is when the big companies start producing their cigars, providing the retailers their products now, they could supply them. And the retailers, they forgot the little guys who was fulfilling the empty spaces they had. And they had to kind of, I just don't blame the retailers because the boom already was fading away in 1999, 2000. So kind of it affected us first than affecting anybody else.
Got it.
But the passion that I had, the love that I had for the cigar tobacco culture kind of did not let me go. So I was like, and I said, I'm staying.
And you had retailers that stayed loyal to you, and then of course there's we've been doing it for 30 years. I mean, you don't necessarily, there's no way you stay around that long if you don't have a product that people are responding to and resonating to the way you do the blends. And um, once that fad kind of died, uh, how did you make that transition to kind of, well, let me ask it this way. Once you knew that that fad was going down and you had already established yourself, now at this point, let's say 1999, we're 4 years in, and you have how many blends at that time did you?
I had maybe three blends.
Three blends. I think we had the blue, the verde,
Verde,
and the maduro.
Maduro.
And those were the red, the green, and the blue.
Yes.
Yeah. And I remember, uh, there was still a pretty big demand even here in California with a lot of the retailers that we had,
Yes,
even
because-
after the fad died.
No, I know. We used that because we survived because of the persistency and my determination. That it was like I gave a birth to a baby that I'm not gonna lose it.
You were gonna see it through.
True,
Of course.
yes.
Yeah. I mean, what was the goal once you created the company? What was the ultimate goal? Oh,
I mean, to provide, because if I couldn't smoke it, I wouldn't be able to talk about it. I wanted to be, I created in a way that, I didn't want to have the arrogancy to create a blend and sell it very expensive, to make it affordable people to enjoy smoking. For me, smoking a cigar, it's an enjoyment. Smoking a cigar, the time that you need, really kind of relax and remember. That's why my slogan from day one was, feel the passion, savor the moment. When you smoke a cigar, you have to feel. I mean, they asked me, how do you blend them? Because in the 80s, I used to be a Cuban cigar smoker. I mean, I used to have a lot of Cuban cigars that every time I was never short by Cuban cigars. Even in the States, that people, they used to buy it from the stores. At that time, the Cuban cigars, they sold in the 80s for $275 a box. But I was lucky enough to find the main source in Tijuana, Mezrahi, and I used to get 40 boxes every month at $75.
oh, you had a good hook.
Oh yeah,
Oh, those
I had a good hook.
And those are Cubans from the 80s. I mean, they're
Oh yeah,
very different from the Cubans now.
oh yeah,
Right.
big time. At that time, creme de la creme. I mean, and when you open the box, the color, the structure of the cigars, the color, they were uniform, the consistency. Out of 25, you smoked the 25.
Yeah. And you said something, the early days of the slogan, or I mean, we still use this slogan, feel the passion, savor the moment. I mean, that goes back to when you were talking about smoking the cigars or watching your cousin smoke, the ritual, like feeling the moment of smoking. It wasn't a it wasn't a quick moment of a fix like someone like might smoke a cigarette. With a cigar, it is a ritual. You're in the moment when you're smoking it. And so your blends are now being created in a way for someone to enjoy that moment, to kind of get lost in the blend and the aroma. And
Again, if I put my medical hat or chiropractic hat on, it's the look that's important of the cigars, your sight. The taste is your mouth. And the feeling of the cigars, you're hearing it. But your nose has to smell what cigars you're smoking. So the only way you can achieve that is when you light the cigar properly, and that's where the ritual is. You have to take your time, light it so that you would smell the cigar you're smoking. Because once you light it up and start smoking, the only people that they're going to smell is people smelling it. You're not going to be smelling it because you are smoking it, because you are in that smoke session. You're going to feel it in your mouth. You're going to have the taste. That's what the palate is. Everybody has different palate. That's why they get different notes. But the best way to try a cigar, I always say it, It's have a glass of water to clean your palate every time you smoke.
To truly enjoy
Enjoy,
tobacco.
because different time, different taste hits your palate, your tongue differently.
So that's different than, the way people pair cigars with different drinks. But if you really want to enjoy the tobacco, a pairing with like a scotch or a wine or any other drink, water is going to be the best thing to clear your palate for you to really enjoy the elements of the tobacco, basically.
I mean, yes, that's true. But once you know the tobacco that you're smoking, you smoked it, you know the taste, what it is. I mean, you can drink with anything you want, as long as it's complemented. It's not overpowering. That's the key of when they do pairing. You can't have a strong cigar with a strong drink because they're gonna uh, cross each other. They're gonna eliminate each other. So you want to think you want to drink like 1990, I think 1997, California Cigar Journal, and or it was Milton Magazine, and they said like with for Garo Blue that it goes well with the single malt because it's a very creamy mild cigars. With the single malt, it has this taste, heavy taste. They don't overshadow each other. They complement. That's how people they should be able to try it. It's like, and anything. You go to a restaurant, you want to try it. Uh, you go to a steakhouse, you try the meat without any condiments or any sauce to be able to enjoy it. But if you want to add a zest to it, you would like to try two different uh, sauces, different mixture of different things. Some like the chimichurri, some like very heavy sauce. It's up to you.
It's going to be based off of what your palate's
Palate
gonna
want, but you
respond.
have to go from basic without anything, and then grow to something that your palate kind of uh, will accept it. You will enjoy it because at the end, it's the enjoyment of the smoking you should experience.
I mean, even the way you're talking about it it's not surprising at all that you ended up creating your own cigar line because your passion for the cigars, the way you even respond to the tobacco, the way you were looking into how blends are being made, the passion of the ritual. I mean, it's no doubt that you were going to get into it. It's nice to kind of hear that um, from a manufacturer because you do hear a lot where it is kind of a quick buck kind of situation where people create blends really quickly to be part of a fad or part of a bubble. I mean, I'm sure a lot of those companies back in 95, maybe even earlier, rode that cigar boom, and some of them are probably not around anymore.
Oh, a lot of them they're not around, but every year new uh, cigar pops up. But again, it's like it's I haven't seen too many people that accept the people on the island and that they live their passion because they're in it. I know those people, uh, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm living my passion. So 1998, I finished medical school, but then I realized that I was really passionate with chiropractic and passionate with the cigar. So I said one day to my wife, Seta, with your mom, and I don't want to go to work. She didn't get it first. Said, when you're living your passion, you're not going to work. So that's what I meant. So over the last 30 years, I do what I love to do on a daily basis.
What do you think a young Garo would say, you know, who just graduated from boarding school, had his first cigar? What do you think he would say if he knew that one day he was going to have a cigar business or his own cigar line?
Uh, I don't know. It's like, you make your own destiny. And because I loved something and I was guided the right way by my cousins, and the other thing that I was guided my my late father saying that education, learning, it's a process to get out of a situation or progressing. And that's why every time that I went to Dominican for the last 30 years, I've learned something new. I constantly learn. I constantly learn with the new tobacco uh, kind of two seeds putting together, making a new tobacco leaf or different leaves from different region. Uh, like even I kind of found out that Peru had a good fillers. I never thought Peru will have. I mean, in Brazil, they have a nice wrappers. I mean, those things you learn because it's not just making a brown stick to light it up. You have to know the region. If those tobacco they blend together, they kind of merge together nicely. And when you give them a combustion and start smoking, they have to be harmonized together, and you're gonna feel the taste that it's feeling in your mouth.
That's actually a perfect transition because our next episode, we're actually going to talk about how you come up with the blends because we have 10 different blends in our portfolio that range from mild to full body. And so, in the next episode, I wanted to talk to you more about how you come up with these blends. And it's interesting that you say education because a lot of the times when we do events, whether it's a cigar event at a lounge or our, Garo Cigar pop-up lounges that we do here and there, the biggest part of it is we're kind of educating not only a beginner but an experienced smoker as to how we put that blend together and then what how that kind of becomes the final product that you're smoking and why you end up there.
Yeah, and I really find exciting when I talk to those people, and I love to share that to next segment. But I like to end in a way that because when I see people, uh, unfortunately, I call them label whores, but what it is, they smoke the label. They don't pay attention to the cigar. I mean, a label can be, I mean, I cannot find a person that smoked in the 80s Coiba Esplendidos and compare them to Esplendidos today. Two different blend. I remember very clearly that if you smoke this one Esplendidos, which was a creamy, very smooth, very strong cigar that you didn't feel, by the time that you finish that cigar and you try to get up, you feel dizzy. And if you try to smoke another one, you'll get nauseated because that was strong. Nowadays, they're puffing. So when I see people like that, I tell them to their face, I'm very transparent. I have nothing to talk to you because you're you're not listening to me. You're hearing me, but you're not listening because I'm not putting down any cigars. I'm explaining to you about the tobacco in general.
Right.
No,
It's a different blend now than it was then.
not only that, in general, when I talk about the tobacco, I don't talk about Garo. I talk about in tobacco in general. What you have to look and how do you have to feel it so that it will become your favorite or one of them. You see one of your favorite or less favorite. But one time when I started, the owner of the Thompson magazine asked me that why people they have to buy Garo, not CAO or something else. He gave me names. So he gave me a couple of names. I said, first of all, let's compare an apple to an apple because the names that you gave me, they're from Nicaragua and Honduras. I'm in Dominican. So give me a name. I said, a, I don't want to be an option. I like to be a substitution. I like to be substituted. If you're an option, you have no choice because that's no other option. But when you're a substitute, that means you know about it. And that's why I always try to talk, talk about the tobacco the way it is so that, talk to them in general so that once they get that feeling and smoke the Garo cigars, they will understand much better. And a lot of people, from the shows, that they ask me, what's the blend? And I tell them, I'm not going to tell you the blend because we have nothing in common to talk. I can bullshit you all the blends you want. Now, when you're smoking, you're trying to find hints of this, hints of that. But when you have time with me and smoke an inch of my cigars, now we have something to talk about it.
Got it. Because now you're in it. Now you're experiencing what you actually put together, and
Exactly.
it actually hitting your palate, and you can have a legitimate conversation regarding the blend and the smoke and the moment that you're trying to create for them. Right?
That's it.
I mean, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, Dad, this has been great. Thanks for rewinding it and showing us kind of how it all started and where it's going. You know, we're going to talk a lot more about the blends in the next episode. Of course, talk about the industry itself and many more things to come. So thanks for sitting with me today.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm looking forward.